afternoon.
I saw it falling. I couldn't grab it quick enough.
Thank you.
Play the games against the teams that are in front of you. They're on the schedule. It is unfolding nicely. Yes, big time. David's all set. Okay. He'll be back. Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, November the 15th, 15th convening of the Baltimore City Board Municipal and Zoning Appeals. A few house rules before we get started. First, if you have a cell phone, a pager, anything that plays any kind of a ringtone or other electronically generated sound, we ask at a minimum you please turn those devices to a vibrate only, if not off position. Similarly, if you have a need to have a conversation with someone, we ask that you please take that conversation at the double doors to your rear. And the reason for those rules is pretty simple and straightforward. You'll note that there are a number of microphones arrayed around us up here, and those microphones are all very sensitive. The microphones are not only for the purpose of amplification, but also for the purpose of recording these proceedings. And cell phones, pagers, to the extent anyone still has a pager, and conversations and besides just being generally disruptive to these proceedings, also interrupt the recording of these proceedings. Similarly, those of you who are forward of the wall behind you, if you turn and see, you'll notice there are 1, 2, 3 video cameras which are mounted on the wall above you there. And there are 1, 2 video cameras up here mounted on the wall behind us. And those video cameras are recording these proceedings for broadcast on the city's cable access network. I believe they stream live over the website, and they're also recorded for the YouTube channel and are saved for broadcast and broadcast on the city's cable access network. So conversations, cell phones, pagers, and the like also interrupt that process as well. We will be voting at the end of the day, and you're certainly more than welcome to hang around and enjoy a civics lesson if you so choose. But if you have other things to do on this otherwise splendid late fall afternoon, that's certainly understandable, and you can call into the zoning board office in the morning and find out how we ruled in your case. If you take out pen and paper, I'll read the number for the zoning board off a couple of times. And that number is 410-396-4301. Again, that number is 410-396-4301. You will, however, need to wait until you receive the written notice of the outcome of your case, which should be forthcoming in about 3 to 4 weeks, before you'll be able to get your permit. We ask that you please not build in the city of Baltimore without first obtaining all of your proper permits. If you haven't already done so, if you're here in opposition to any case today, we ask that you please sign in on our signing sheet, which is now being held up by Mr. French. The signing sheet allows us to know generally which cases have opposition, and also allows us to know who needs to receive those aforementioned written notices I just referred to. Additionally, if your case is postponed for any reason, we need to know how to contact you to let you know when the case will be going forward. So please, if you are here in opposition to any matter, please make sure that you've signed in so that we know who you are and how to contact you about your case. The procedure for when the cases are called, as if you're the appellant, you will come forward and stand to our left or your right. The opposition, if any, will stand to our right or your left. Once everyone is up here, including any witnesses, we will get you all sworn in. And then we'll first begin with the appellant. We'll begin the opportunity to address any questions which the board has, tell the board about what it is they're proposing, introduce any documents or testimony that they would like the board to consider in support of their application. Once the appellant has concluded, we'll then turn to the opposition, if any, who'll be given the opportunity to present their side of things, their documents, witnesses, and the like, that they would like the board to consider in support of their position. Finally, we will turn back to the appellant, who'll be given the opportunity to respond to any points brought up by their opposition and offer a closing statement. We won't be going back and forth, unnecessarily delaying things longer than necessary. We will generally be calling the cases in the order in which they appear on the docket after we first dispense with some preliminary issues. First, we do have one postponement today. That case is 2016-387, 1401 Key Highway. That case has been postponed. It will not be heard today. If you are here on that case, please make sure that you are signed in so that we know how to contact you to let you know when that case will be going forward. But that case will not be heard today. Next are the cases on our consent agenda, and the consent agenda consists of cases for which the zoning board staff has reviewed the files and the board has been able to determine that we are able to approve these appeals on a consent basis upon the record that's been submitted to the board. We'll call the consent cases together all as a group. So listen up for a few cases called. The first person will stand right here. Everyone else will line up down the dais behind them. And once you're all up here, we'll get you sworn and we'll call these cases in turn. And you'll be given the opportunity at that time to present any information you would like to have added to the record. Okay, first case on the consent agenda is 2016-319, 1618 East Clement Street, John Lowry. After that will be 2016-340, 1015 West Baltimore Street, Andre Hinton. Then we'll have 2016-357, 3605 Clipper Road, Ian Barnes. We'll then have 2016-360, 2921 Fate Avenue, Alan Vornador. And then 2016-361, 4513 Shenley Road, Adam Carballo. Then we'll have 2016-362, 2101 Dobler Avenue, Gregory Bernard. Then 2016-364, 4501 Eastern Avenue, Dwight Menze. Then we'll have 2016-365, 800 Linden Avenue and 803 through 819 Utah Street, Alyssa Domzal. And 2016-368, 2205 East Fayette Street, David Pfeiffer. Next, we'll have 2016-374, 3211 East Pratt Street, Tim Dwyer. And 2016-375, 3500 Hillen Road, also Tim Dwyer. We'll have 2016-379, 1224 North Calvert Street, Elizabeth Bonner. 2016-380, 1439 Marshall Street, Joseph Woolman. 2016-381, 2436 Fleet Street, Todd Newman. Finally, 2016-385, 821 South Lakewood Avenue, Nate Preble. Okay. If all those intending to give testimony can raise their right hands and be sworn, please.
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, calling the first case, 2016-319, 1618 East Clement Street, John Lowry.
That's me.
Afternoon, sir. We have this as an application to construct a second-floor rear addition and rooftop deck at this location. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and Mr. French, is there anything for the planning department on behalf, with respect to this case?
Martin French for the Baltimore City Planning Department. Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Lowry, was there anything further you would like to offer to supplement the record in this case?
No, thanks.
Okay. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next, 2016-340, 1015 West Baltimore Street, Andre Hinton.
Correct.
Afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
We have this as an application to construct a second and third floor rear addition and use as 4 dwelling units with first floor commercial. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Mr. French, anything with, for the planning department?
Yes, Planning Department notes that this property is located in the Union Square District, which is a local historic district, and therefore all exterior changes have to be approved by the Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation. The department recommends that approval of this application be subject to the condition that all exterior changes, including additions, demolitions, and alterations, are completed according to an authorization to proceed issued by the Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Mr. Hinton, are those conditions offered by the planning department acceptable to you?
Oh, yes.
All right, and is there anything further you'd like to offer to supplement the record in your case?
Oh, no, not this time.
Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Okay.
Next, 2016-357, 3605 Clipper Road, Ian Barnes. Afternoon, sir. We have this as an application to enclose side porch, construct a 1-story side addition and 2-story rear addition at this location. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Mr. French, anything for the planning department?
Planning Department has reviewed this application and has no objection to approval. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Barnes, is there anything further you would like to offer to supplement the record in your case?
I'm aware that the Community Association has submitted a letter of support with a note that they'd like to have some input on my fencing, and I'm perfectly happy to be amenable to that.
Okay. Mr. Tanner, we have that in the record?
Yes.
Okay, we'll incorporate that into the record in your case. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal. Good luck. Next, 2016-360, 2921 Fate Avenue, Allen Bonador. Okay, we'll skip that one for the time being. 2016-381, 4513 Shenley Road, Adam Carballo.
It was 361, correct?
Yes, 361, 2016-361. Mr. Carballo,
Yes, sir.
we have this as an application to enclose existing side porch. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Mr. French, anything for the planning department?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Carballo, was there anything further you'd like to add to the record in your case?
No, sir.
Okay, and sir, your name is?
Michael O'Leary?
Okay. Mr. O'Leary, did you have anything to offer at this point?
I do not.
All right. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined there's sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next, 2016-362, 2101 Dobler Avenue, Gregory Bernard.
Yes.
Okay. And you are, sir?
His husband,
Okay. And your name?
Joe Lazaro.
Okay. Mr. Bernard, we have this as an application to remove enclosed front porch and construct a new front side corner, street corner side and rear wraparound open porch. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. French, anything for the planning department?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Okay. And gentlemen, is there anything further you would like to add to the record in your case?
No, you should have gotten 2 letters from the commission, one addressed to Mr. Tanner.
Yeah, we have that in the record.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was it. Just curious, since I don't know the process from here, I wait the 3 weeks to apply for the permit?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, to wait for the written outcome of your case, and then you can use that to go get your permit.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, just a second. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed the application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Take care,
time.
gentlemen. Next, 2016-364, 4501 Eastern Avenue, Dwight Menze.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. We have this as an application to construct a second-floor rear addition at this location. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. French, anything from the planning department?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Menze, is there anything further you would like to add, something in the record in your case?
No, thank you.
Okay. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed the application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve the appeal.
Thank you.
Good luck. Next, 2016-365, 800 Linden Avenue and 803 through 819 Utah Street, Alyssa Domzal.
Yes.
Afternoon, Ms. Domzal. We have this an application to consolidate lots and construct a 10-story clinic and office side addition to existing 10-story garage. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Ms. French, anything for the planning department?
Planning Department has reviewed this application, has been working with this applicant for quite a while, and recommends approval of this application. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Domzal, anything further you would like to add, something in the record in your case?
No, thank you.
Okay, zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Great.
Good luck. Next, 2016-368, 2205 East Fayette Street, David Pfeiffer.
Yes, sir.
Afternoon, Mr. Pfeiffer. We have this as an application to construct a 2-story rear addition at this location. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Mr. French, anything for the planning department?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Pfeiffer, is anything further you would like to add to supplement the record in your case?
No, sir.
Okay. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve the appeal. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Next, 2016-374, 3211 East Pratt Street, Tim Dwyer.
Yes.
Afternoon, Mr. Dwyer. We have this as an application to install a rooftop telecom facility consisting of 9 antennas, 1 microwave dish, and rooftop equipment at this location. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Mr. French, what say you for the planning department?
Thank you. Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that the Historical and Architectural Preservation Division is going to be issuing a letter concerning this property also under Section 106 of the Federal Communications Act. The department recommends approval of this application be subject to these conditions. The antennas and related equipment must be painted to match the building to ensure they are visually unobtrusive. The panel antennas and related equipment will remain mounted as illustrated in the plans and elevations submitted to planning, and the applicant will adequately mitigate any adverse effect specified in the report of the Historical and Architectural Preservation Division of the Department of Planning in accordance with that report's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Dwyer, are those conditions acceptable to you?
Yes, they are.
All right. And is there anything further you would like to add to supplement the record in your case?
No.
All right. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal. Calling next, 2016-375, 3500 Hillen Road, also Tim Dwyer.
Yes.
And Mr. Dwyer, we have this application, this appeal, as an application to install additional rooftop telecom facility consisting of 9 antennas, 1 microwave dish, and rooftop equipment at this location. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Mr. French, for the planning department.
Thank you. Planning Department would like to note that the memorandum submitted to the board erroneously refers to 3900 Hillen Road, which was what was apparently a typographic error in the original application document sent up from Zoning Administration. This memo does comment on 3500 Hillen Road, the property before you today. The department recommends approval of this application subject to these conditions. Antennas and related equipment must be painted to match the building to ensure they are visually unobtrusive. Panel antennas and related equipment will remain mounted as illustrated in the plans and elevations submitted to planning, and the applicant will adequately mitigate any adverse effect as specified in the report of the Historical and Architectural Preservation Division of the Department of Planning in accordance with that report's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Dwyer, are those conditions acceptable to you?
Yes, they are.
All right. Anything further?
No.
All right. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we determined that there was sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you.
Take care. Good luck. Next, 2016-379, 1224 North Calvert Street, Elizabeth Bonner.
Hi, I'm Margaret DeCampo on behalf of Mrs. Bonner.
Okay. And Ms. Campo, we have this as an application to use the premises as 2 dwelling units. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. French, anything for the planning department?
Yes, Planning Department notes that this property is located within the Mount Vernon Historic District, and therefore any exterior alterations that might be required as a result of approval of this application would be subject to approval by CHAP. The department has no objection to the application. If approval is granted, it should be subject to the condition that all exterior changes, including additions, demolitions, and alterations, are completed in accordance with an authorization to proceed issued by the Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation. Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Campo, are those conditions acceptable to you?
Yes.
All right. Anything further?
Nope.
All right. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal. Good luck. Next, 2016-380, 1439 Marshall Street, Joseph Wallman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Afternoon, Mr. Wallman. We have this an application to construct a new three-story with penthouse, single-family dwelling at this location. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Mr. French, anything from the planning department with respect to this appeal?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Wallman, anything further you'd like to add to something?
Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, a memorandum of law for the file and two
you.
letters of support, which I believe you may already have. I emailed them yesterday.
We have that.
Thank you.
Is that it? Okay. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you.
Good luck, good day.
Take care.
Next, 2016-381, 2436 Fleet Street, Todd Newman.
Yes, sir.
Afternoon, Mr. Newman.
Good afternoon.
We have this an application to construct a second floor rear addition with rear and rooftop decks at this location. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. French, anything from the planning department with respect to this appeal?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Newman, anything further you'd like to add to something on the record in your case?
No, thank you.
Okay. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you.
Good luck. Last but not least, 2016-385, 821 South Lakewood Avenue, Nate Prettle.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mr. Prettle. We have this an application to construct a two-story rear addition and rooftop deck at this location. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Mr. French, anything from the planning department with respect to this appeal?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Prettle, anything you would like to add to something in your case?
I'd just add that you should have a letter of support from the Canton Community Association in your file.
Yeah, we do.
Great. All right. Zoning board staff, having previously reviewed your application, we have determined that there is sufficient information to approve the appeal.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay. Now we'll turn to the remainder of our docket, which will include cases where opposition is signed in. And frequently, we found that opposition is the result of either a lack of communication or miscommunication amongst the parties. And it can be useful to offer the parties an opportunity to have a dialogue between themselves to see if they can't resolve whatever issues there are between them. Obviously, if there are two sides to a dispute and they approach the board and ask the board to resolve whatever their disagreement is, one of those two parties is bound to go away disappointed with the outcome. And so this is your opportunity to avoid that unhappy fate. I'm going to read off the cases where opposition is signed in and ask if there's been any dialogue between the parties and whether or not the parties would like to have a dialogue or continue one now. You certainly don't have to take the opportunity to speak with one another, but we certainly do encourage and appreciate it. 2016-363, 4534 Harford Road, Angie De Lucia. Okay, and who signed in on that case? Okay, and have you folks had an opportunity to speak? No? Okay, would you like to have a dialogue? Okay, just let us know when you're ready to move forward. 2016-372, north side of Graceland Avenue, 625 feet of Ogden Street. Nicholas Vasilarakis. Okay, and who's, I guess, ma'am, you've signed in on that case?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and have you folks had an opportunity to talk?
No, we haven't.
Would you like to?
Sure,
Okay. Have a discussion, and if you get something worked out, let us know, and if not, let us know.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Um, 2016-383, 2710 through 2720 Sisson Street, Nate Prettle. I think. Yes, they must be. Okay. While they are all having hopefully productive discussions, we can move along with those cases which do not have opposition. 2016-342, the east side of 15 feet of alley, first east of Tolna Street. Lenny Marquettes.
I suspect they moved them by now.
Okay. 2016-366, 6017 Harford Road, Jose Lopez Perez. Afternoon, sir. You're Mr. Lopez Perez? Yes, sir. Okay. And sir, we have this an application to continue auto repair garage and add auto sales at this location. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. If you can raise your right hand, sir, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Do we have staff reports?
We do. We received an email from the Westfield Neighborhood Improvement Association on October 20th, 2016 in opposition to the proposed additional use of auto sales with the repair garage due to the fact that they currently have 5 other auto dealers within the Westfield community.
Okay. Mr. French, anything for the planning department?
Thank you. Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that the motor vehicle sales are a permitted use in this area. This is a conditional use that would add a permitted use as a modification. The department recommends that approval of this application, if it is granted, be subject to these conditions in addition to any conditions which the board may establish. There will be no parking, staging, or storing of vehicles on public rights-of-way. There will be no parking or storage of unlicensed vehicles on the property. All work must be performed indoors. All materials, parts, and equipment related to this use will be stored indoors. The area used for temporary storing of vehicles will be adequately screened by an opaque fence or wall. And if a dumpster is used to collect waste and trash related to this use, the dumpster will be placed either inside the existing building or within a masonry enclosure having a solid lockable wooden gate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Lopez Perez, so those conditions stated by the planning department acceptable to you?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And why don't you tell us about what it is you're proposing here?
I'm trying to make the existing garage as a used car sales.
Can you hold one of those microphones over to you.
Trying to make the existing
A little
garage,
closer to you.
the existing garage into used car sales. I am going to put a fence around the area to keep the cars safely secure. And we are painting the building to make it look better, so the neighborhood looks better with the used car sales.
Okay.
We are completely remodeling the building.
Say that again?
We are completely remodeling the building,
Okay.
painting and making it look better.
All right. And have you operated any similar establishments before?
Operated a wholesale used cars. That's what I am right now.
Okay.
So
All right. And where's that located?
it's located at my house. It's an office
It's where?
location,
Okay.
just in my house.
Gotcha.
Is the used car sales, is that going to be the primary use of the property?
Yes,
So
sir.
the repairs,
The repairs I want a different garage and another location.
it's not open for the general public to bring their cars in for repair?
No, sir. No, just the
So
used
it's
car sale.
primarily going to be an automobile, used car dealership,
Used car dealer, yeah.
which is a permitted use?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The repair shop, I got it on 8512 Old Hartford Road. That's my garage where I fix the cars.
Okay. Any further questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, 2016-384, 1621 Belt Street, Philip Jacobs. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Figured we'd get to you sooner or later.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jacobs, we have this an application to construct first and third floor rear decks and rooftop deck at this location. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. If you can raise your right hand, sir, and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Do we have staff reports?
We just have one. We received a signed petition in support of the proposal from the appellant from 5 property owners that are all located within the 1600 block of Belt Street.
and the planning department reviewed this application and has no comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sir. Why don't you tell us a bit about what it is you're proposing here?
Thank you. I appreciate your time today. I've been a resident of the city for over 12 years. My fiance just recently joined me about a year ago. We love this city and we're very much committed to staying here for a long period. We want to make this house our home. This is where we want to raise our family for a foreseeable future. Currently, the house has very little external space. As I'm sure you're very aware, the population housing density in Baltimore is only going upward. And this does not provide very much options if we want to increase or even have a large amount of external space. Allowing us to build this rooftop deck will mean a significant increase, not necessarily in this space, but in our quality of lives. The expansion, when we're looking at the first floor, this expansion will in no way infringe on any of our neighbors' rights. There will be more than enough covered space so that during inclement weather, both of our vehicles will be under there, so then a definitely positive gain here is there'll be less cars on public streets. As you can see by what was submitted, I did speak to all of our immediate neighbors as possible, and none of them had injections. In fact, they were all very supportive of the idea, and encourage us to make the changes. We have multiple immediate neighbors who do have rooftop decks as well. Once again, this is, probably about increasing the quality of our life for ourselves and our family. We very much appreciate your time and consideration today.
Mr. Tanner, question. Measuring for building height, do we measure from the highest point of the structure?
Not necessarily. It's defined in the code. I believe it's measured from the curb, the front.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't have a street frontage like that, if they take the average, so if it's on a slope, they would take the average. But, bear with me a second, I'll find it.
Three or Title I? Title I. It should be at the end of Title
I'm getting there. Building height. Section 1-307. For purposes of determining compliance with height limitations, the height of a building is measured by the vertical distance from the mean curb level, or if the walls of the building are not adjacent to the street curb, the average elevation of the grounds adjoining the walls. And then they talk about pitched roofs, which doesn't apply in this case.
Yeah.
Now, dimensions on here is from the rear,
Rear, yeah, that's the thing.
and it does slope somewhat, so it wouldn't necessarily be.
From the drawings, it looks like the bottom of the deck would be at the top of the, it extends out to the top of the structure. If you look, if you go forward. So, okay. And I can't quite tell from the drawing, but it looks like, yeah, it looks like the structure itself isn't being extended in the back. Looks like your
No.
building is the deck.
Yes.
Correct.
And the cars would go under that deck. Okay. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much again for your time.
I skipped this one. 2016-377, 3818 West Cold Spring Lane, Chiquetta Tinson.
We had called her name earlier,
Yeah.
and she wasn't here.
I know that, I think you had mentioned that there was a request for deferral of that, so I'm guessing
The
that that's,
planning recommended that be deferred, maybe they took that to heart.
yeah.
We've had no contact.
Okay. And let's go back up to the top. 2016-363, 4534 Hartford Road, Angie De Lucia. Oh, okay, they're not back. All right. Then we'll go to the next. 2016-372, north side of Graceland Avenue, 625 feet of Ogden Street. Nicholas Vasilarakis.
Afternoon.
Afternoon, sir. We have this as an application to use the premises for the storage of 2 trailers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If all those intending to give testimony can raise their right hands and be sworn, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
We do.
I do.
Okay. And do we have staff reports?
We do. We received an email on November 15th, 2016, from a nearby resident that opposed the commercial trailers in a residential area, and they also requested that the current trailers be removed from the premises altogether.
Thank you. Planning Department reviewed this application, noted this property is Zone B2, although it is very close to an existing residential zone as well. The property has not had any specific authorized commercial use on it. This proposed use, storage, is not listed as a permitted or a conditional use in a B2 zone and therefore is not allowed. Therefore, the Department of Planning notes that this would become a new non-conforming use if approval was to be granted, and the zoning code does not authorize creation of new non-conforming uses. On that basis, the Department of Planning recommends disapproval of this application because the zoning code does not provide authority to approve creation of new non-conforming use, which the proposed storage would be in a B2 zoning district. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Vasilarakis.
Okay, I'm George Dragos. I'm his uncle, and I come here
okay.
as well because he couldn't make it here today.
Can you say that name again, sir?
Dragos, Drakos, George.
Okay.
K-O-S?
Yes.
George is the last name?
No, George's first name,
Okay.
Drakos last name. And
I'm the wife of Nick Vasilarakis, Angela Vasilarakis.
Okay.
thank you.
All right. And did you understand the position of the planning department?
Absolutely, I understand. We try to come to some kind of agreement, and obviously we don't agree. Mr. Vasilaik wants to know if he can leave at least one trailer. If we make it look nice, cover him up with plastic, and clean up the whole area so it's not going to look bad in the neighborhood. We also wanted to show you that in the area there are other stuff, like the gasoline station has a shack on. It does not look very good and nobody complained about it. And on the next property to Mr. Vasilarakis, there is another trailer in the middle of that, which they never bother complaining. So we want to know why it is the double standards, basically. And we understand the law, and we respect the law, but we think has been unfair for us.
Okay. Well, each case that comes in front of us is different. I don't know the ins and outs of the location that you've shown us in the pictures, but if that property were in the same zoning district as yours, and
Actually, they are.
And if there was no prior history of the property being used, and there had been no prior authorization of that property being used that way, it may be the case that the operator or owner of that property is just simply flouting the law, and no one has.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Well, just
go
go ahead. It may just simply be the case that that's a violation which hasn't been caught yet. If that's something which troubles you, or I know that you're here for Mr. Vassilarakis, so maybe if it troubles him and he would like to have the property inspected to see if it complies with the applicable zoning, he can certainly do that. But as far as the available zoning and what the requirements are with respect to this piece of property, it would appear that the use which is being sought is one that is unavailable within this particular zoning district. One thing I would point out, which is that if the contemplated zoning code rewrite is passed, this kind of use, I believe, would require a legislative action to approve, and so you could go to your council person at that point to see if you could get the use approved. But as far as this board, under the existing code, and I believe also under the contemplated code, if it gets passed, this board doesn't have the ability to grant the approval that's being sought.
I understand, and I appreciate it.
Sure.
The only reason I make the comment is because I don't know why they go after one property and not the other property. So you will be curious too, okay?
And a lot of times it's really nothing more complicated than the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Okay.
So for one reason or another, I do note that your property, it looks like, is on a corner, so it may be more visible than any others. I don't know. And so it may just simply be the case that this particular property has drawn notice, while another property maybe hasn't. But again, if the zoning is the same and there's no other prior history of use or any kind of authorization like that, it may be the case that whoever that other owner is just simply chosen to not comply with the law.
I
And it's
understand.
sort of flown under the radar screen.
I understand, and we appreciate it. I'm going to say that the trailer has been there since 2004, and we have 16, if I'm correct. So what we would like to ask you is that to give us 6 months to be able to take the stuff out and clean up the area. And in the meantime, we will look and see what we can do with the property.
Okay, well, I will give you a little piece, I will give you a suggestion, and it's up to you if you want to do this. If you postponed your case, and you wanting to use that postponement to approach your council person, assuming that the contemplated zoning code rewrite is approved, which I don't have a crystal ball and no one does, so who knows if that's going to happen. But you could use that postponement to approach your council person and investigate whether or not they would be amenable to introducing a legislative action to approve the use. And while your case was being postponed and you were pursuing that, that would effectively operate as a
We would like to postpone it if we can.
Okay. In that case, 2016-372, north side of Graceland Avenue, 625 feet of Ogden Street is postponed. Ma'am, your name is?
My name is Edie Schuman. I'm president of the Grayson Park Improvement Association.
Okay. What was your position with respect to this case?
Our association, after discussing it with our members, is unanimously that our association is against it. Primarily reason is most of the surrounding neighborhood is zoned an R3. Single-family homes, for the most part, or duplexes at the worst. And the closest zoning is a B2, so we don't have any commercial trailers parked within the Graceland Park community at all, and it is our desire to keep it that way. I just want to kind of, for the record, just to touch base on, respond to some of, okay, I said I'm the president. I just took over being the president in September, so I'm not able to speak for what the previous president knew or didn't know or did say or didn't say. The neighboring lot is on my radar screen, but I believe zoning enforcement is not something that this board addresses.
That's correct.
And we will be working with zoning enforcement on that piece too. But I have to make sure my ducks are in order before I have to do some research on it and get some information before I'm able to, properly report that. This case, couple things concern me. The trailers have been parked there, like they said, for years. So they've been illegally parked there for years. Again, like I said, I don't know why it didn't come on my radar screen. I didn't know, I have cell phone colored pictures. I don't know if, can I show them to people, or is this not the right time, or?
Pictures right here.
I have some others,
Well, I would just point out that the applicant has.
I just wanted to
would you like these to be included?
You can.
in the record?
You can.
Okay.
If that's what, if she wants to show you pictures.
Hold on a second. Ma'am?
Is that all that's there? It's pictures? Because
There's some other stuff that's in here.
No, just the pictures.
Just the pictures? Okay,
Yes,
I
please.
can give you back those. And so you just wanted to pass up the pictures.
And actually, the trailer was there. We didn't know we were going against the law in any way because we tried to consolidate the property to build on it. So they told us that we can leave the trailer there. So to our knowledge, it wasn't anything illegal we were doing.
Who told you could leave the trailer there?
The board that we did an appeal.
The city's a long time ago, but there was not in writing, nothing in writing.
But nothing was in the writing because I actually talked to Andrew, is it? Miss Andrew?
Yes.
So, yeah, and, nothing was in writing, so I didn't think that I was going against the law in any way. Recently, we brought the other trailer because I had my son, I have two sons in the military, so he was in DC as a presidential aide. So we recently brought his stuff and stored it there till he just now moved, July 4th. So the movers took the stuff, so the trailer's actually vacant. The other trailer's been there since 2004, and we just have it for personal use.
Okay.
So maybe that brought got the community's attention, because the trailer's just been recently moved there. For my
That may,
son's stuff.
that may get to the bottom of that particular point. But one thing I would say that, if you were going to approach your council person, obviously, council people are there to respond to the wishes of constituents, of which, you certainly are constituents, being property owners in the area, as well as the community association. They're also constituents.
Sure.
So I would certainly urge you to try to work with the community association as well as the councilperson's office to try to see what kind of accommodation can be made. Okay?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right, take care.
We
And
tried contacting Gem Craft, but because it's on the way out, you can't really
Yeah,
get a response,
that's
so.
why you may want to wait until
yeah.
your new councilperson
Okay,
takes
well,
over.
we just hope we could do something with it, because you pay a vacant lot fee and a property tax on it, and then you're like, oh, you can't do anything with this? So where do we
True.
turn?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I just had a question. So it's postponed, so how are we going to find out when it's postponed till?
You're signed in on it?
Yeah, I signed
Okay,
in.
so the case won't go forward until we're notified by the applicant that they want to go forward. And at any time that the case does go forward, so long as we have your information on the signing sheet, you'll be notified.
Now, should I like I had pictures, and I know we didn't get that far, but should I do I bring them on a cell phone, or it's better to print them out and bring
It
them
would be
in?
better next time to print them out.
Print them out? Okay, great. All right,
Okay? All right, thank you. All right, and we'll go back to 2016-363, 4534 Hartford Road. Right, now, I have this in a couple different ways in a couple different places. I have Angie De Lucia and I have Angie DeLuca.
It's DeLuca.
DeLuca, okay. All right, and Ms. DeLuca, we have this an application to use the premises to house commercial space and 2 dwelling units in a mixed-use, multiple-family detached dwelling. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If all those intending to give testimony can raise their right hands and be sworn, please.
Now, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, do we have staff reports?
We do. We received a letter of support from the director of the Hamilton Main Street Revitalization Program on November 3rd, 2016. We also received a letter of support from the Hartford Road Community Review Panel on November 8th, 2016. But we also received a letter from the Lauraville Improvement Association in opposition of the proposal on November 11th, 2016. For the subsequent reasons. Number one, the property has never been held commercial space, and the association feels as though it is a contradiction to the appeal, which states, quote, continue to use as a commercial space in 2 dwelling units. Number two, the current rental properties have never been registered with the Baltimore City, and as a result, never inspected by the Department of the Environment for lead paint. Number three, they feel that the firm representing the owner, BEPPE LLC, is not, quote, qualified to represent them.
And Mr. French.
Thank you. Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that it is for commercial unit and 2 dwelling units. The department wishes to note for the record that this property is in the Lauraville Business District Urban Renewal Area, which does have some restrictions and prohibitions concerning some commercial uses. The applicant therefore should consult this particular urban renewal plan before proceeding with any specific plans for the commercial portion of the property. The department has no objection to the portion of the application concerning the residential use. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. DeLuca, why don't you tell us about what's being proposed here? And first, you guys had an opportunity to speak before the hearing. Were you able to get anything worked out?
No, unfortunately, I don't think that we're able to resolve things.
Okay, all right. So we'll move forward. If you can tell us about what's being proposed in the history of use of this location.
Sure. When the property was purchased, it was 2 residential dwelling units, and the front space was a commercial space. The property needed total renovation, and it was purchased with the intention to renovate it and continue the setup that existed.
Okay. And when was the property purchased?
It was purchased at the end of 2014.
Okay. And what's, I guess at the time of the purchase, what use was being made of it?
It was 2 residential dwelling units and a commercial space.
Okay.
And the 2 residential dwelling units, I would like to add, are registered with the city. All of the properties under this entity are all registered. There are no lead certificates because renovation has not been completed, and there are no tenants living in there. We need to be able to get the permits to be able to continue the renovation, which will then eventually result in lead certificates.
Okay. And was the property occupied when it was purchased? Okay. Do you know when the last time it was occupied?
I don't. I'm not certain. Yeah, we're not sure.
But it's been recent.
It's been what?
It's been in very recent years, but I can't say the exact date.
Okay. All right. Anything else for right now?
Your name, ma'am?
My name is Regina Lansinger. I'm Director of Hamilton Lernerville Main Street. So one thing, if I can point this out, what really
Step in front of the microphone.
sorry. What really concerns me is that Mr. Luca was able to purchase the property and obtain 3 permits that allowed her to start work on the property. So she has invested in the commercial property, which has been in seedy condition for a long time, the commercial unit. So as a commercial revitalization program manager that I am, I was happy to see that somebody is purchasing that building, which further, extends our revitalization efforts on Hartford Road. She did get 3 permits to work on the housing part, in the apartments. And it was only when she went to get the 4th permit from the permits office for starting work on the commercial unit, she was told that it had to come to a halt. And I'm just kind of surprised by this because she's, again, put out a lot of money. She's been 3 times to the permits office to do this, and only on the 4th time she's told that it has to be delayed while it goes through a zoning hearing. So I feel like that's not very fair.
This property is located in a B32 community commercial district, so there's no reason why they couldn't use the commercial portion of the property. I believe what triggered this appeal was that the zoning administrator's office must have considered this to be a conversion because they treated it as a single-family dwelling due to a vacancy in the building. So the reason why it was sent to the board was for the conversion provision that deals just with the dwellings, not the commercial use of the property.
Mm-hmm.
So you can move forward with the commercial use. And if the board approves the 2 dwelling units, then you can move forward with that. It would also trigger a need for a multiple family dwelling license because anytime you have 2 dwelling units and any other use, you need a multiple dwelling license for the residential portion of the property. But that would follow through the permit process.
Do we have any permitting or violation history on this, David?
No. There's no record of any outstanding vacant building notices, violations.
Okay. Okay, anything else for right now?
I would like to just add that when I spoke with Mr. Charles Lee in zoning, and he researched the index card on the property, he said that prior to the 1980s, it was 2 dwelling units and a commercial space, and the city recognized it as such. At some point in the 1980s, somebody filed to decrease it to 1 dwelling unit, but they never got it inspected or finalized it. They just applied for it. And that's the reason why it required a hearing.
Okay. That may provide some information on that. Okay, thank you. Ma'am, your name, please?
Georgia Corsa.
Okay, you can pull that microphone a little bit closer to you. They do move, and then it adjusts too, so you don't have to be so high up. Okay.
I'm an officer in the Lauraville Improvement Association and a resident of Lauraville for over 40 years.
Okay.
We have a moratorium in our neighborhood against any more subdivisions of our, we have a lot of large Victorian houses like these that get divided, sometimes legally, sometimes illegally. Then they, like a house will get a in-law apartment that the resident will put in. Then when they go to sell it, the house is divided into 2 apartments and the buyer assumes it's 2 apartments when it's not. This house has been vacant for at least a decade. It was converted back to a single-family dwelling. and you said back in the 80s. I have pictures. It has possibly 2 parking spaces out front. It's a very unusual situation. The house has no parking. There's no access in the rear. It backs right up so that the property line goes right into someone else's backyard. There's no alley or access at all through the back. So the only access to that house is right on Harford Road, and they have 2 parking spaces out there. That lane has to be cleared every morning between 7:30 and 9. So we already have congested parking from the commercial. Regina has helped get other businesses in there that have created a lot of congestion, and the residents are concerned about the parking. Now we have this situation where they want to put a multi in there. And it's a large house. As 2 apartments, it could end up being 4 cars associated that live there, not to mention the traffic coming and going for, a retail sale that would be in the commercial end of it. I don't think the retail would be a problem because that would be during the day, but anyone that lived there would not be able to leave their car there overnight unless they were willing to get up at 6:30 every morning and move it, because we have a rush hour clear of that lane on both sides, going south. This is on the south side, so it's in the morning, and then in the evening, the parking lane gets cleared on the other side. So we don't think that's 2 parking spaces is not enough to have a multi in there.
And as I look at the pictures, both the ones that you passed up, which are very helpful, thank you very much, and look at the tax
You can
map.
put them in the file if you.
I'm sorry?
You can put them in the file.
Oh, thank you so much. But also looking at the tax map of the property, the property is a little bit of an odd configuration in that the rest of the houses along Harford Road in this block go back, it looks to be about 50 feet further than this particular lot, which has another lot which comes in behind it off of Grindon Avenue. And that lot sort of cuts off the back of this property. And then there's the large triangular, I guess it's not really triangular, it's a
Trapezoid.
Thank you. I was trying to remember the word. If my children were here, they could tell me, but not me, I'm too old. But anyways, the trapezoidal shaped commercial property that's to the right. So it results in this rather odd configuration. And plus you have this 1-story structure that's built onto the front of the house. So whereas the property next to it has a somewhat similarly configured Victorian style house on it, it is much deeper because it doesn't have the property that comes in from Glendon, or Glendon or Grindon?
Grindon.
It doesn't have the property coming in from Grindon behind it, so it's much deeper. And it also doesn't have this structure that's on the front. So this property certainly is atypical. But I guess what I would be troubled by is that with that first floor 1-story commercial structure kind of stuck to the front, I hear the community's desire to have single-family dwellings there. But I'm thinking that that might create a pretty large obstacle to a single-family type use while having this commercial structure stuck on the front. That might make it a little bit difficult to operate just as a single-family home with that there. Again, which is atypical from the other properties which are around it, but I certainly can understand the community's desire for single-family residences in this location. Has the community considered at all the is the history of prior use at this location?
Yeah,
It
that's
sounds-
part of it. It's been single for,
Well, it sounds like it's been vacant for a long time.
yeah, it's been vacant.
and if
I think
underst-
it's since 2004.
And if I'm understanding the testimony from the applicant correctly, it sounds like it was always physically divided this whole time into two residences, but that someone had filed for an application to
Yeah, they
downzone it to
they
only
dropped the two apartments. They stopped paying the rental registration and went back to a single-family dwelling.
But it sounds like the property was never in fact operated that way. It sounds like it just kept on being maintained as and physically was a two-dwelling structure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was there anything further, ma'am?
The two streets that are, you have this house, and then you have Harford Road, which from 7:30 to 9 is 0 parking, and then goes to 2 spaces, Grindon and Markley. And you have the Markley Avenue Fire Station right there. So the fire station, of course, you can't have any cars anywhere near that. But the closest side street is Grindon, which is already being abused by a convenience store that came into the corner. It's constantly parking, and we have a lot of problems with people parking on the wrong side of the street and blocking it so that people can't get into the avenue, and this is going to make it even worse. These are big apartments. If the house is fairly large, you could have 2 adults in each apartment, which could end up being 4 cars associated with the property when they come home from work. And they're going to need to take up parking on Grindon. And we're already fighting for parking on Grindon. We have a big parking lot with aprons that are associated with the mental health center, which is that big trapezoidal building. It has a parking lot affiliated with it behind it where you can't park. So parking is, an issue. If it wasn't an issue, then it wouldn't be a problem, but it is an issue. And it's been getting worse and worse as Ms. Lansinger has invited different companies to come in, and the businesses are growing, and, we're getting more activity, and then we put in the median strip, and that eliminated all the parking on Harford Road during rush hours, so that further makes residential properties on Harford Road a problem if they don't have a rear access.
Anything else?
That is all.
Ma'am?
I don't think I have anything else. I appreciate the consideration.
Okay. Thank you both.
Possibly if we could have a postponement, if the board doesn't want to find in our favor, and if we could have a postponement to give us more time to study this issue.
Okay. Ordinarily, postponement requests are the prerogative of the applicant to request.
Okay. Well, then we'll
So in the
just-
prior case, I offered that suggestion to the applicant. But unless Ms. Luca was interested in postponing the case.
No, I would really like to not postpone the case,
Okay.
but thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. I've never been to a zoning hearing before, so.
So, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. And 27, oh, that's weird. Yeah, 2016-363, 2710 through 2720 Sisson Street, Nate Prettle.
383.
380.
383, all right.
Do you mind just calling the number again? I hit record, it didn't do anything. Sorry about that.
Sure, no problem.
No, you
Calling,
stand on that side.
Should know that.
calling the case of 2016-383, 2710 through 2720 Sisson Street, Nate Prettle.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mr. Prettle. We have this as application to use a portion of the second floor of the premises as an indoor recreation fitness facility that will total 1,825 square feet. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If all those intending to give testimony can raise their right hands and be sworn, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay. Do we have staff reports?
We do. We received a letter of support from the Greater Remington Improvement Association stating that the applicant seeks to promote a healthier environment while causing no adverse impacts to the community. But we also received an email from Joan Floyd on November 14, 2016, stating that there is no proposed off-street parking on the online appeals form, and that there are other documents missing from the online file. But I will say parenthetically that she did not specify which documents. Ms. Floyd also states that the Remington Neighborhood Association has not had any correspondence with the applicant, and states that the Remington Neighborhood Association must have the opportunity to review the applicant's proposed parking plan prior to the hearing.
Thank you. Mr. French?
Thank you. Planning Department reviewed this application, noted this property is zoned M2, which is an industrial zone, in which this proposed use is a conditional use. The particular property does have off-street parking on it with access to Sisson Street. However, there was no parking lot or site plan presented which indicated where the parking that would be needed for this proposed use would be located, and specifically to demonstrate that the off-street parking to serve this use would not cause a reduction of off-street parking for the other uses of the property. The department recommends approval of this application. Basically, if the applicant can demonstrate that this use is not going to reduce the amount of industrial use of the property below what it already is, the department was hopeful that there might actually be some reduction of the non-conforming use of the property as occasioned by this, but there was no floor plan presented at the time that the department reviewed the application to demonstrate one way or another concerning this. The department has had conversations with Mr. Prettle, representing the applicant, who's indicated that this proposed use would take place on the second floor of the property in an area which is basically not being functionally used as industrial property. On that basis, the department would have no objection to approval of this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Prettle.
All right, good afternoon. Nate Prettle, AB Associates. I'm here with Wendy Wallach, who is the founder and acting executive director of Mission Fit Baltimore. So our proposal, as stated in the application, is to use a portion of the second floor of the property for a indoor recreation facility. The property, some of you may be familiar with, if you're coming off 83, is primarily used as the Baltimore Body Shop. If you get off 83, you'll see it has a big alligator next to it on the side. There has been a series of uses on the second floor, some of which were permitted, some of which weren't over the past few years, which the owner's been cleaning up. He still operates the body shop on the second floor. Our proposal is to use this portion for, again, what we call a recreation facility. It's essentially a large room that's going to be primarily used by Mission Fit, which is a 501c3 nonprofit specializing in providing services for kids and young adults and Baltimore City school students for any number of things. You know, they'll have boxing classes. They do various, using the space for different movement activities. And I'll let Ms. Wallach talk a little bit about this. So that's what the use is, the conditional use of indoor recreation facility. One of the main things that I noticed came up here was regarding to parking. And I'll speak a little bit about the parking, and then I'll also let Ms. Wallach talk about how their day-to-day operations operate. Essentially, there are 75 parking spaces in the rear of this property that are primarily used by Baltimore Body Shop for people who come in and park there, but primarily storage of his cars that they're working on. We've, in our discussions with Mr. Armstrong outside, we have agreed to dedicate 4 parking spaces along the side of, and it may be helpful for me to demonstrate on the submitted site plan. There are 10 parking spaces, essentially, right here, parallel parking spaces along, which are available at all times for the use of Mission Fit Baltimore. We have agreed, they're not dedicated, but they're available for them. We've agreed for a condition to dedicate and put this in the resolution 4 spaces for whatever times they're open. Their hours of operation are typically between 6:30 a.m. to 8 p.m., and that does not mean they're open the entire time. Generally, their main hours are before and after school, since most of their kids are, most of their users are school kids, who, by the way, are not typically driving to the location. Most of them walk some of them from Margaret Bent Elementary School in the area. Others are dropped off by vans, and the police department Bridges program brings, I think, the most number at one time kids, and they generally park in the BP gas station across the street. We're going to encourage them to park on our property at the moment. We've also agreed to another condition that when kids from Margaret Brent Elementary School are coming, one of her personal trainers will walk to Margaret Brent, pick them up, and walk them over, which is the way that they've been doing it now anyway. I think the kids have a hall pad or a permission slip to leave from there. And so that's generally how things run. I think I'll let Ms. Wallach describe the rest of their operation in more detail, and I'll be happy to answer any questions after that.
Ms. Wallach, you can come over to the microphone.
So this is a free gym for kids in Baltimore. That was our goal. That was our mission, strengthen Baltimore's youth. We partnered with the Margaret Brent most of last year. We did walk the children over, all middle school kids, no elementary kids. Our gym is pretty much an open space for body movements, games, teamwork building activities. And we do have some barbells and dumbbells in there. Certified trainers work with the kids. Nobody gets a salary in our organization, and we have very limited hours right now. So currently, after school, we have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 to 6, where some kids will come over, and we do have and they will engage in these physical activities. I am there for almost all of them, but I don't run them. We have certified coaches that do that. And sometimes, for instance, the Bridge program by the Baltimore Police Department they come on Monday afternoons, 3:30 to 4:30 to 5:30, but they come in a van. And so we're pretty small. We're just 1 year old, and that's how we run things. The gym is not open during the day. If people, the Baltimore Child Abuse Center comes once a year to bring a program in. That's in the evenings, in a evening for a special, program for those young ladies, and that's what we do.
I'd like to add one more thing before we go to Mr. Armstrong, if that's all right. I'd like to mention that under the city's new zoning code, which, as many of you are aware, passed on third reader to be held one meeting in the council last night. This property is proposed for IMU, industrial mixed use, where this indoor recreation facility is a permitted use under that. So just looking forward to the new zoning code. We want that this conforms even more so than the conditional use under the existing code for the new code.
Okay. One question on the parking you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an aerial here that shows some, I guess there's this driveway that's there.
Correct.
Take a look at it there.
Yep.
And it looks like there are some cars that are parked there.
That's where there's there's maybe a 15-foot drive aisle, and then there are parallel parking spots against the wall that goes, and that's where we would, and prior or subsequent to this hearing, I'll submit that plan with the 4 striped parking spaces. That's where they park. You know, I've been to the body shop, you know, to leave my car there before. That's where sometimes people can park there, if not in the larger area in the back.
Okay. Mr. Armstrong.
Hi, Douglas Armstrong on behalf of the Remington Neighborhood Alliance. And I would just go to say that if certain additional information, and Mr. Pruddle had maybe made an overture, a lot of the concerns would have evaporated. Our main concern was parking. Obviously, parking is a huge issue. It's a huge issue in Remington. And we are going to be under a DOT parking study sometime soon. So we didn't want something to get outside of that. Our other couple of concerns were obviously, since now understanding that this is primarily a children and young adults program, worried about their concerns. Sisson Street is a very, very trafficked street, especially as a cut through to the south, and knowing that their plan is to escort kids back and forth is an advantage. With the addition of some dedicated spaces along that drive, which I'm familiar with, that I think would help and would encourage people to be off-street, therefore out of the traffic lanes. The only other concern I have is purely a technical one, which I'm sure can be gotten around by this board quite easily, and that is if it's a gym, it's not allowed in an M2, but we are headed towards potentially a new zoning code. So all I would say is that I await the dedicated parking. I wish them good luck. I hope that it's a successful venture.
Okay.
I have one additional thing to add. We were approached by the Greater Remington Improvement Association. This property is not technically in Remington. It's in the Jones Falls industrial area. And I apologize for not providing some additional information to Mr. Armstrong, but another issue was that none of this apparently appeared online, which it's supposed to. But we have a support letter from them, and subsequent to the hearing, I'll provide a new site plan with the 4 dedicated striped parking spaces. I'll provide that to Mr. Armstrong and his association as well, and I urge you to approve our appeal based on the conditions set forth today, including the one about the trainers walking the students from Margaret Brent.
All right. Anything further? Mr. Armstrong, anything?
No.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you all very
Great.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's all. I'm going to take a couple-minute recess. We're off the record. You know, in lieu of any measurements from the front, it looks to me like the top of the deck is in line with the top of the building in the front. So the deck itself doesn't look like it extends up any further than the structure does itself, but for the safety rail, which is required in the code. But yeah, I saw that same issue, and that's why I was kind of like, but you know, as I said, since there are no measurements from the front, only from the back, but just looking at the drawings, it looks like it's all online. But yeah, these are all pretty straightforward.
Harford Road, do we have an abandonment issue for Harford Road?
No, if I'm reading this one correctly, David, because of the zone that it's in, the typical abandonment issue only applies within certain residential districts, and this one isn't in one.
Okay.
It's kind of the way that it used to be before the code was changed. So it's just a straight out conditional use. But I mean, I do think that the odd configuration of both the lots as well as that commercial structure in the front. I mean, I just don't see it being used as a single-family dwelling with that kind of configuration. Otherwise, I mean, that area is pretty prominent with those kinds of houses, and it's an up-and-coming area, so I can understand why the community was interested in trying to limit the growth of multiple-family dwellings, but I just don't see how that would apply with this one here.
There's also extensive work done on that Main Street.
Yes.
Corridor very intentionally.
Yes. All right, anyone's? Okay, let's just jump right in. 2016-319, 1618 East Clement Street was by consent. 2016-340, 1015 West Baltimore Street was by consent, planning department conditions. 2016-342, the east side, 15 feet of alley, first east of Tolness Street was a no-show. I guess we can find out, because this one hasn't come in front of us before, so we can find out what the issue was. It may be that they moved the trailers, so in this case, it's no.
Hopefully.
2016-357, 3605 Clipper Road was by consent. Does that one have planning department conditions, Martin?
No, you said with community approval of the fencing.
Oh, that's right, that's right. That incorporated the community, community association conditions. 2016-360, 2921 Gate Avenue was a no-show. 2016-361, 4513 Shenley Road was by consent. 2016-362, 2101 Dobler Avenue was by consent. 2016-363, 4534 Hartford Road. I am a yes.
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 Agreed.
2016-364, 4501 Eastern Avenue was by consent. 2016-365, 800 Linden Avenue and 803 through 819 Utah Street was by consent. 2016-366, 6017 Hartford Road. I am a yes with planning department conditions.
Yes.
Yes.
2016-368, 2205 East Fayette Street was by consent. 2016-372, the north side of Graceland Avenue, 625 feet of Ogden Street was postponed. 2016-374, 3211 East Pratt Street was by consent with planning department conditions. 2016-375, 3500 Hillen Road was by consent with planning department conditions. 2016-377, 3818 West Cold Spring Lane was a no-show. 2016-379, 1224 North Calvert Street was by consent with planning department conditions. 2016-380, take care. 1439 Marshall Street was by consent. 2016-381, 2436 Fleet Street was by consent. 2016-383, 2710 through 2720 Sisson Street. I'm a yes with planning department conditions, also incorporating the conditions offered by the applicant.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, that means they're doing body work on both floors.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, were you just saving that up?
2016-384, 1621 Belt Street. I'm a yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
2016-385, 821 South Lakewood Avenue was by consent. And 2016-387, 1401 Key Highway was postponed.
Same to you.
Oh, yeah.
Same to you, Martin. Take care. Good luck to you.